Hello, today I'm visiting the University of Birmingham's prestigious Winterbourne House Gardens. As part of their Heritage Open Days, I've been invited by the Birmingham and District Beekeepers Association to come along to their annual honey show and find out more about what it's all about. The Birmingham Honey Show is an annual event that is free to enter as part of the Birmingham Heritage Week. Aimed at a family audience, the event is designed to educate people of all ages on the fundamentals of beekeeping, as well as fun activities for children, various bee products for sale, and of course the honey competition, which we'll get into later. While here, I grabbed some interviews with the team behind the action, starting with the organisers themselves. Introduce yourself, guys.
So I'm Lauren, I am the Honey Show Secretary.
And I'm Nathaniel, and I'm the Honey Show Manager.
And what a great event that you put on for us this weekend. What would you say, just in a quick summary, what are the main perks of coming to this event and being part of the organisation?
So to me, it's the pinnacle of everything we do in our association. So it's a chance for our beekeepers to showcase their honey and all their hard work working and looking after our bees. But it also brings together all the different apiaries and members across the wider Birmingham and District Association. So today we've got members from our Winterbourne, Highbury and Prairie Road apiaries also selling their award-winning honey. But it also highlights what we do in our membership. So we have winter talks once a month. We have weekly meetups in the summer at our different apiaries. We have a newsletter that goes out, and also the benefits of sort of having insurance linked with the association and that wider support network of mentors too has really helped me in my first year and a half of beekeeping.
An interesting thing that you just covered there was the weekly meetups. Is that more just for networking purposes so the beekeepers can know who each other are, or in the same way that you have your talks, do the weekly meetups, is there also an educational aspect, or is it simply just for networking?
No, definitely educational. So I did an introduction to beekeeping course last year, and then when I was looking at buying a hive and my first ever bees, I joined the association and went to the weekly meetups at Highbury, and I have a mentor and lots of friends there, as they are now, that have helped me to successfully raise my bees. And then I took the Bee Basic Assessment this year, which is kind of your introduction to beekeeping qualification, and I had a lot of help from members across the association, so definitely a lot of support and education as well as friendship too.
And is there anything new that you haven't done in previous years for this honey show?
So we've got the WWF, which is the World Wildlife Foundation. They're here this year promoting their course for bees and the wider community. We have the RSPB. They've been coming for the last 4 years, which is how long we've hosted the honey show here. And we've got the Bumblebee Conservation Trust, who they've been coming for the last 7 years when we was at our previous site as well. So we have quite a lot of community engagement. It's not just about the bees, it's about the wider wildlife community.
And obviously there's all the educational aspects from all the stalls and from the association themselves. Is there anything that members can learn from each other at events like this, maybe with the honey judging, like from looking at each other's honey and being able to take tips, or is there any way that members can learn from each other?
Definitely. So we've got our observation hive, so we have previous members that have moved back into the area, different roles. So our treasurer currently is helping with the observation hive, but we have volunteers for stewards, so all the people here today are volunteering their time to help out. So the volunteers definitely get lots of tips which they'll share with the association as to how to sieve and grade and label. It's very, very technical, the elements that go into the judging, so that's really helped me to understand how to be a better presenter of my honey as well as how to extract the honey too. Definitely.
And also the judges what actually judge the classes of honey, they will stay behind after they finish judging and pass on tips to members about what they're looking for when judging. So the following year or a bit later on in the year at different honey shows, they can obviously pass on that knowledge and hopefully get a higher upgrade in their showing.
Thank you very much for your time. So what does it take to get top grades in the honey competition? After my conversation with Lauren and Nathaniel, it was imperative that I find out more on, firstly, what you can enter, and secondly, how it's judged. So I am here inside the judging tent of the Birmingham Honey Show with Sharif Khan. You are an exhibitor for the show, am I correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been exhibiting honey in various different levels, so from local level all the way through to national, for probably about the last 10 or 11 years.
So talk me through a little bit about just looking around at the honey on the shelves. I'm seeing different classes on the labels. I'm seeing lots of different colours. Talk me through a little bit about the rules and what the key criteria is for the judging of the competition.
Yeah, okay. So there is a lot of different classes in the honey show itself. So the obvious one is honey, but then we also do things like the photographic competition, candles, mead, and even a cake. So each class has its own set criteria for what is being judged. So the honey is an obvious one. It's a consistent thing that the judges are looking for. So first of all, they will take a look at the honey. There's different colours. So is the honey in the right class for that colour? Light, medium or dark? We also then have set honey. And in the runny honey classes, judges are specifically looking for the brightness of the honey. Has it started to granulate? If there's any, floaters, bits of, propolis or wax that still might be left in the honey. So it needs to be really clear and bright. Then next criteria for runny honey, they'll be looking at things like the aroma. So they'll actually open the jar, take a smell of the honey, see whether it's still nice and fresh. Then comes down to the viscosity of that honey. How thick is it? Because if it's too runny, that's not a good quality honey. If it's nice and thick, it means it's really good quality. And finally, they go for the taste test. So ironically, probably from a consumer's perspective, the most important thing is actually the thing that gets judged last. So, although something might be first, based on all of those initial criteria, it may be that when they get to the taste test, if there's two that's, let's say, first and second place, that might be the determining factor that then swaps what was first to second and second to first. We also have a novice section. So the novice section, we like to encourage our new beekeepers, to enter. So we have 3 novice classes. So it's a jar, one single jar of any type of honey. We have a set honey class and a beeswax block class for those novices. Then we have what we refer to as open classes, which because of the size and status of our show, we've had a honey show in Birmingham for decades. And yeah, it was always listed as a almost national open status show. So technically anybody from, the whole country could send their entries in or exhibit their entries here in the open classes. Then we have our members classes, which as the name suggests is limited to members of our branch. In recent years, we've introduced 2 new classes, which is just behind us here, the composite attractive display. That's always a hotly contested class. And in memory of one of our stalwarts of the branch, the Stan Dolphin Trophy gets awarded for the class behind us, which is 1 jar of honey and a block of wax. So Stan was a very noble showman over the years, and he did really well in his honey and beeswax classes. So yeah, that was in a nod to him. And we also have mead, of course. And mead, again, another hotly contested class. Because it's a matter of pride, I think, amongst some of our beekeepers. It can take years for a decent mead to sort of like settle and mellow, and it is like wine, it really does improve with age.
While the honey competition proves to be a popular aspect of the event, another crowd pleaser in a different part of the gardens is the annual bee demo, giving us an insight into the inner workings of the bee colonies. I grabbed an interview with the Winterbourne apiary manager and the education coordinator for the association to find out more. But before that, here's a little sneak peek of the demo itself.
She's got a little blue dot on her thorax, so she was born this year. I don't know if you can see there, the blue queen. I'll try not to drop her on the ground. Can you see her there? I'm sorry, you're a bit far away over there. She's just there where my hive tool is.
Okay, so joining me now here in this apiary is Noel Parker from the Birmingham District Beekeepers. How are you doing today at this event?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
And so we noticed that lower down in the park you were doing the bee demo. Tell me a little bit more about who that's aimed at. Is it aimed at complete beginners? Is it aimed at people with intermediate levels of knowledge?
It's targeted primarily at a children's level, so complete beginners, complete novices. I always like to ask if they've got any fun facts about bees first. It just gives me a little bit of an understanding of where they're at, and generally it's quite a low bar, so I can tailor my talk to that. Yeah. It's all about education. So getting people are always interested in bees but don't know a lot of facts about them, so we try to give them enough to stimulate their interest, rather than just throw a load of facts at them. and expect them to remember it. And it's supposed to be enjoyable and enlightening and uplifting, and I hope it was.
It certainly seemed like you pulled in quite a crowd. There were a lot of people around, and there's 2 more demos later on today, aren't there?
Yes.
With other members of the Beekeeping Association. So for someone who was a complete beginner who wanted to get into beekeeping, what would your advice be about how to go about it? Are there any particular rules about where to put beehives, or were there anything that you would maybe encourage them to do first before they became a beekeeper, just to kind of build up their knowledge of bees?
Yes, that's a very interesting question. I would advise anybody who were interested in, thought they might want to keep bees, first of all, to find out more about them. Go along to their local association and visit their apiaries. That way they can see the bees, because beekeeping is not for everyone. So it's just approach it in a structured way. The courses here contain enough information about how to keep the bees, how to keep them safe, what challenges there are, where to get your bees from, how to look after them once you've got them, diseases, because all creatures have pests and diseases, and it's just managing that. And because it takes about 2 or 3 years to become a semi-competent beekeeper, because it's only 6 months of the year you can get your hands in the bees because of its seasonality.
So, Noel, why do you think events like the Birmingham Honey Show here at the Winterbourne Gardens are good for the local community? What do you think the local community can take away from events like this?
Unfortunately, you can get a lot from YouTube and the internet, but there's a whole legacy of out-of-date information and misinformation, and coming to an association like Birmingham's Honey Show is an opportunity for people to get accurate information, factual information, without any of the pitfalls of just research.
Interesting stuff. It's interesting to learn, about how you can't always rely on social media and technology, and that coming to events really are enlightening. Really interesting stuff. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak to me. So I am here with Sheldon Steele, the Education Coordinator for the Birmingham District Beekeepers Association. Sheldon, I was having a bit of a chat with Noel a little while ago about how there's a lot of outdated information and a lot of false information when it comes to beekeeping advice on YouTube. Why don't you tell me a little bit more about your role and how you combat that through the courses that you offer, and just about how you go about your role?
Thanks. Yeah, I think Noel is a very, very knowledgeable person, and he's right. There is a lot of outdated and just not reputable information and sources out there. And my role as the education coordinator is to encourage and help and assist primarily our members to engage in evidence-based education that's coming from the BBKA. So the BBKA being the umbrella organization that tests and sets the standard of what is the fundamental knowledge that is correct for beekeepers, upon which we can then build on top of that as beekeepers. So we're doing the right things to primarily help the bees.
And if I'm correct, you offer courses through the Birmingham District Beekeepers Association. Tell me a little bit more about these theoretical courses, practical courses, and what do they specialise in? How do they help members?
So we'd encourage anyone, for example, who's wanting to come in and be a new beekeeper to perhaps attend one of our introduction to beekeeping courses. So, at the very start, there are courses such as that, available to any curious member of the public who is thinking, this looks interesting. Perhaps I want to be a beekeeper. I want to keep bees.
And what would you say is the biggest misconception that you can get from online learning? If we're going back to the fact that there's a lot of stuff out there that's false, what would you say is the biggest misconception that people pick up through primarily learning online?
I think one of the biggest misconceptions that people can get is are things relating to honeybee health. So, for example, from YouTube and social media, there might be a movement to not treat bees or just have them there, hands-off beekeeping. There's nothing natural about keeping 40,000 bees in a box at ground level. So, as beekeepers, we have a responsibility to engage in animal husbandry. And part of that is to become knowledgeable about the health and diseases of your bees and to monitor for those things, know how to inspect for them, and to treat them if necessary.
That's really insightful stuff. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak to me today. Speaking to Noel and Sheldon was really interesting, and with the final bee demo of the event wrapping up, there was only the long-awaited awards of the honey competition left to go. Here's a sneak peek of some of the awards.
Stan Dolphin Trophy for a John Honey and Beeswax block. And it goes to Janie Moe. For dry need. Let it go to Sharif Khan.
Witnessing the support that everybody gave each other during the awards only emphasised how much of a community the association is. I'd like to take this moment to thank the association for inviting me to cover this event and to everyone who agreed to be interviewed. However, I couldn't quite leave without an interview with the sponsor themselves, Tim Owen, the Director of Operations for the University of Birmingham. Tim, we've come towards the end of the Honey Show. The weather's been a bit up and down, but we're still going strong. How have you found the event overall in terms of previous years?
The event's been absolutely fantastic, and I think despite the weather being challenging, we've still had over 3,000 people visit Winterbourne House Gardens for the Honey Show. And I think that's an incredible thing because as part of Birmingham Heritage Week, we open our doors for this event to get as many people through the doors as we can who wouldn't normally come here. The university is incredibly proud to be associated with the event, and we're delighted it's gone so well.
And what can people look for next year?
If you want a weekend where you want to come somewhere beautiful, experience something different, find out about perhaps a hobby you've never thought about doing before, this is the place to come. And not only do you have the chance to find out a load more about beekeeping and honey, you can buy some of the wonderful produce, but also get a chance to see Winterbourne House and Garden, which is probably one of the best places in Birmingham to visit.